Ninjago is the home to plenty of theories, and as we get more and more seasons, more and more theories either come to light, more theories get expanded on, and sometimes they get proven or disproven. But that is in fact the joy of theories. It gives you the ability to take a look through those smaller aspects of the show and theorize what the implication of them is. And especially with the release of Dragon's Rising, there is so much to talk about. So in this video, I'm going to go over your Ninjago theories. I am pulling from my video where I talked about Season 3 theories, and if you have a theory, drop it in the comments below, because I'll definitely take a look at it, and hopefully you'll be in the next video. So yeah, let's not waste any more time, and let's talk about some Ninjago theories. The first one is coming from Marty29656. Hello my friend, and you said, I think if Jay gets his memory back, or even pieces of it, the toughest decisions for the writers will be about Nia. They are yin and yang after all, and the one thing I've been thinking about is when Nia said I will always love you. This had me wondering what she would do for that love, and how far she would be willing to go. If it does get to the point where Jay has to decide if he will stay rogue or become a ninja again, I think there's a possibility that Nia will make the decision to leave the ninja with him. This sounds crazy, but I have some evidence on why. Ninjago, like previously mentioned in this video, is making some big changes, especially with this big change with Jay. It opens up a lot of opportunities to explore Nia's character. I think her making the decision about whether to be with the love of her life would be a huge change or opportunity. She does love the ninja, but she has sacrificed her connection to them before to save Jay's life. When she merged with the sea, she knew the risks, but it saved Jay. I think after so long without him, it also helped her to come to the realization that he means more to her than anyone could. We saw her fear in Season 11 compared to Dragon's Rising, and it showed a lot of growth, and if she had the chance to be with him, even if it meant leaving the ninja, I think she would take it. And honestly, I'm seeing your point. I think when it comes to Jay, or Rogue specifically, personally saying, I do think he's going to get his memories back. I don't think they're going to permanently stick with Rogue. I think Rogue is a very fun experiment on the dynamic of Jay, especially considering obviously where he was before and where he is now. But I do think Jay or Rogue is a very limited factor, and I do think there's a lot of opportunity to get him back. However, if the scenario was he never became Jay again and he was Rogue, say like you said, he had pieces of his memory, so he understood that he was a ninja, he understood who Nia was, who everyone was, he understood that they weren't lying and that they were actually his family, I do think he would be a bit conflicted, because if who he was as Rogue still remains there like it is, I do think there would be an argument in his head. And in that scenario, I do think Nia would be tempted. There's definitely a lot of argument to suggest that Nia would go to those greater lengths like you said. Like you said, merging with the sea is one of the biggest sacrifices she ever made. And she did it basically for Jay. She never really considered it as a aspect of Ninjago. I think she kind of understood in terms of that, she probably would have been able to do something about it. But in this instance, I do feel like she probably considered it because of Jay. So yeah, I do think if Rogue was going to remain as an aspect of Jay, I do think she could consider leaving, or at the very least just go on a hiatus if anything. Nia is probably due a break, if anyone, considering all the ninja to some extent have gotten a break at some point. Maybe except Lloyd. But the thing is that I do think they are kind of hinting at the idea that Jay will come back. I don't think Jay's gonna go, but in this scenario, I definitely do agree with you. Thank you for the comments, I loved it. Theory number 2 is coming from Ray the Raccoon. Hello my friend, and your theory is that the first Ninjutsu Master is part Source Dragon specifically. There's a scene in Dragon's Rising where we were basically told that elemental powers come from Source Dragons, which annoyed me as it pretty much retcons everything we've been told about elemental powers so far in Ninjago. But it would make sense if the first Ninjutsu Master was part Source Dragon, and that would help explain how he had enough power to create multiple realms, and could also explain why Lloyd can handle being a conduit for the Source Dragons, as he would have some part Source Dragon as well. And I think you're honestly onto something here. Now the thing is, we understand that the first Ninjutsu Master is not currently a Source Dragon. Of course, he is not there, it's not implied that he's there, there is no implication whatsoever that he is a Source Dragon currently in Dragon's Rising. But the thing is, what if Source Dragons, or the Source Dragon's power, acted like elemental power, where when a source dragon passed on, the elemental ability or the element that the source dragon controls is passed to a new vessel. Because that's the whole thing we were told when it came to Ninjago. Elemental power is never lost, it always just finds a new champion. And that was the whole reason of Crystallize with the Overlord. He wanted creation, but he knew he couldn't kill the ninja because it would have just gone to someone else. So I do think you're onto something if we consider the idea that the power of the source dragons acts like elemental power in that regard. Now, I may be wrong, so if I am wrong, please don't flame me, but as far as I'm aware, they haven't outright confirmed what the actual source dragon that the ninja derived from. Personally speaking, I think it's just life. That is the implication for me, or maybe the source dragon of energy. I don't think motion has anything to do with it. I don't think strength does. I think it's life or maybe energy. But if you asked me to bet my money, it would probably be life. So what if the source dragon of life is the next vessel from the first Spinjitzu Master, and the ninja had their elemental power because that's how the first Spinjitzu Master passed it on? And I honestly think there's something there with that, because like you said, we are told that elemental powers are from the source dragons. We know that for a fact. So the thing is that if by that logic, the first Spinjitzu Master gave people his elemental power and he passed down the powers of creation, by all account, he should retain some sort of source dragon energy. But there is a counterpoint to this, because I will say, again, going on the idea that the source dragon of life specifically is originally the first Spinjitzu Master. If the first Spinjitzu Master was given that elemental power by the source dragon of life, it would make sense that it was just passed down, and because of the amount of power, it was just separated out. That is a point, because the source dragon doesn't need to specifically imbue someone with the elemental power for them to have it. Like you said, say if the ninja died, it would just get passed to the next vessel. We know that for a fact. So by that logic, potentially he's just the champion of the source dragon of life, but I do think your conduit argument specifically actually kind of leans it back in the source dragon favor. It's just the only thing that goes against it is the fact you kind of have to or assume that elemental power acts like source dragon energy, and by all accounts it should, because it's all from the same source. But the thing is that you can't, it's not specifically answered. So I do agree with this. I think there's an argument to state this, because like you said, the whole thing of a conduit. But the problem is we don't know how conduits work either, because Dragon's Rising has so many unanswered questions. So let me know what you guys think on this one. This is actually brought up a really good question for me. Ray the Raccoon, you've done a really good theory, because you've genuinely got me thinking here. I'm sat here between takes, making sure I'm making this all right. I really like this theory, and I think I agree with you. I really do. Thank you, my friend. Theory 3 comes from Mark Glasses. Hello, my friend. And I will say, you reference Calvin in this theory, so I'm going to assume that's the name of the person in question. But you said, my theory is that Raz's master is the same kind of being as the first Spinjitzu Master. He was created by a group of Oni and Dragon as a way to bring peace between the Oni and Dragon, but this peace only lasted around 100 years before the war started up again. But Calvin didn't join either side. He grew to hate both the Oni and the Dragon, seeing them as warmongering monsters. I am actually kind of with this. Now, the origins of the first Spinjitzu Master has always been shrouded in a bit of mystery. As much as we really know is that he kind of just came to be. So, I guess, that kind of reinforces the Source Dragon point, if anything. But the thing is that, of course, you would have to understand that maybe the Oni and the Dragon, or whatever type of being that came to be with the first Spinjitzu Master, who's to say there was just one? That's the only thing. And of course, we know the first Spinjitzu Master also created multiple realms, but it was also never confirmed that he created all of the realms. Of course, the first realm was never created by anyone. The first realm came to be. Watch my timeline video. But the thing is that at the same time, you have to also consider who created the rest of these realms. Who created, say, the realm of the monsters that we're going to see in the new Kai series in Legends. Who's to say we don't know the origins of any of these realms, really? So is it a question of, is there someone else out there creating these other realms? And that's kind of what I want to know, because it would make sense if there was someone else who was creating the rest of them. Because if 10 realms just came to be and then the first Spinjitzu Master just made the other 7, then what would happen there? Also, it is 17 realms before I get comments about that. But it's interesting. It'd be interesting to note, would another first Spinjitzu Master being exist, and would it share his benevolence at the same time? So, I like this. I think it's actually kind of a good idea. Is there another first Spinjitzu Master type being? I like this. Thank you very much, Mark Glasses. Theory 4 comes from Diego Claudio. Hello, my friend. And you said you have 2 theories that you made a while back, but you never shared them. So let's have a look. You said the first one's far-fetched, though. So let's see. So theory 1 says it could explain how Wu caused the merge. In season 6 of Ninjago, we saw how Ninjago was falling apart because of the cursed realm being destroyed. I saw in the list of merged realms that the cursed realm is merged with Ninjago and Dragon's Rising. What if Wu knew that the other realms would soon follow in destabilizing and self-destructing themselves, including Ninjago? He could have been searching for a way to restabilize the realms without the cursed realm, or even bring back the cursed realm in some way. At some point he found a scroll from his father that he made explaining the future events known as the Merge, and how to stop it with the Dragon's Core. This would explain why he was looking for information on the coalescence in the beginning of Dragon's Rising Season 1. Maybe he was looking for a way to not cause the Merge, but maybe use the energy of the Dragon Cores in the scroll that could have been the location of the Temple of the Dragon Cores, which is in the World Forest. Maybe Wu went previously to the temple and learned about the location of the cores. He then used Traveler's Tea to go to one of the realms where it was. He could have tinkered with it and learned about how it works. Maybe even taken a bit of the energy from it. This could have caused the merge, because Wu knew that it wasn't supposed to happen yet. Maybe his mistake in looking for a way to restabilize the realms and tinkering with the cores led to the merge coming too earlier than explained. This is just a theory though. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Honestly, I actually kind of like this one. So I'm liking this theory fundamentally because, of course, we know to an extent that obviously with Ninjago being destroyed, and obviously the state of the Cursed Realm in general, the Cursed Realm by technicality should have been somewhat destroyed because of the preeminence, but we don't know the implications of the Cursed Realm, and obviously as of Season 3 Part 1, we know that the Departed Realm and the Cursed Realm came together as one. So it'd be interesting to know, and I do think a counter to this theory is the fact that maybe the Cursed Realm merging with the Departed Realm did cause the realms to restabilize, but there was never an implication that the realms were disintegrating after the Ninjago was done. So it's interesting to note, because obviously with it being sister realms, it may potentially have never been still destabilized to begin with. But to have a little adjustment on the theory that you have, considering the idea with the Dragon Cores, I do like these. So what if, now hear me out, this is kind of changing your theory, so this is a bit of both. But what if Wu did do as you said? He learned about the merge and he attempted to prevent it. What if he learned about the Dragon Cores? He went to the realms that the Dragon Cores were in, and by messing with it, he did actually then cause the merge because of it. He's using the tool that's meant to prevent the merge before it began, so he caused the merge. It's like the two wrongs don't make a right kind of argument. So what if that was actually the case? Because like I said, I don't think the realms were destabilized before the point of the merge. Because obviously with there being sister realms, Ninjago was gone, that was fully gone, and the Cursed Realm was in this really weird state. But interestingly enough, Season 3 Part 1 does show Moro say that the Departed Realm and the Cursed Realm were in a much worse state even before it began. So I don't think we could make the argument that he did it because of the destabilized realms, but I could make the argument that, like you said, Wu stumbled across the teachings of the merge, he stumbled across the Dragon's Cores, and he did it himself to try and make it so it would never happen, and that's how it happened. It's kind of editing your theory though, but let's leave it there. What do you guys think as well? Theory 2 is in the last episode of Hands of Time, Wu takes out the reversal blade from the Iron Doom, causing it to destabilize and explode at some point. The last thing we see is Wu leaving Nia and Kai back at current Ninjago. Wu is with the Brothers of Time going to the future. My theory comes into play here. Wu took out one of the blades, specifically the reversal blade. Now that the other three were left, which were pause, slow motion, and fast forward, now, If you think about it, the pause and reverse blade contrast the fast forward blade, and slow motion in the sense that both the reverse and pause go back or stop time, while fast and slow make it go forwards. My idea is the fact that Wu took out the reversal blade, destabilized that balance, making it so the slow and fast blades were stronger than pause, and since Iron Doom was making its way into the future, it exploded at some point, releasing the temporal energy of those three blades. Since the two forward blades overpowered the one stop blade, that then energy affected the timeline, speeding up the merge and caused it to happen earlier. This would make sense with Wu saying he thought he had more time and that he caused it. From what we know, Wu probably learns about the merge at the end of Crystallize. After the merge, he finds that what he did caused all of this and tells it to the ninja. I don't exactly know how the energy affected the merge, but for me, it makes sense. And he said, sorry for the long theories. No, thank you, my friend. The only issue I kind of have with this is that the time blades, or the elemental power of time itself, affects obviously the point of time that it is at. Now, I know what you're trying to get at, which is if all the forward blades, or the blades that keep time going forward, would it bring it earlier in the timeline? But wouldn't it technically need to be reversal time blade to bring it back in time? Because it would need to come backwards in the timeline, wouldn't it? Because obviously it came to be a lot earlier on. So the reversal blade would have to do that, no? Not the fast forward blade. So I think there is a small kind of error with this. I feel like maybe I'm misconstruing the whole theory. So again, I'm going to pass this off to you guys because I like it. It'd be a really cool way to bring back the Time Twins in an interesting way without having to directly bring them back. But the thing is that at the same time, wouldn't it have to be the reversal blade to do this rather than the forward blade? But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I think this one is a bit in the air for me, but I also like it. So what did you guys think? But thank you, Diego. I really appreciate this. And the last one is coming from Dina Andro Ilosef. I have definitely butchered that. My bad, my friend. But you said, what if they were Source Oni like Source Dragons, but they are trapped? And you would have the Source Oni of death, weakness, hate/anger, pain/suffering, jealousy, and others. I actually really like this one. Now, of course, we know Ninjago fundamentally is built on the balance. It has to have balance for all things to exist. You have to have the yin and you have to have the yang. And of course, there are many times where this gets tilted in one way or the other. There are plenty of instances of it going in very, very different ways. And I do like to think maybe it would have to go all the way to the top, because it would make no sense for one of the fundamental aspects that keeps the realms together would also not have a counter, because it's one of Newton's laws, isn't it? Is for every reaction there has to be an equal opposite reaction. So if there are source dragons of motion, energy, strength, all these good source dragons, wouldn't there have to be a counter to the source dragons? And in this case, like you said, Source Oni. I like this, because it would also help imply where all the darkness comes from in the realms, where all the evil comes from, where all like the darker elements, for example. It would have to have some form of origin, and you could even go as far as stating that we also know the Overlord just came to be as an aspect of the balance. What if he is, in similar vein to the theory before, we're linking this all together, what if, by all account, if the first Spinjitzu Master was originally a Source Dragon or has an aspect of a Source Dragon, what if the Overlord is a Source Oni, and he is the descendant of a Source Oni in similar vein to the first Spinjitzu Master, of course taking on a different form, but still having that fundamental balance aspect. So if one was sent by the dragon, the Oni sent one in reaction. And again, I really like this one. I think it's interesting to imply that there has to be a counter to the Source Dragon, and there technically has to be, because otherwise the balance would just be tilted completely towards the light. So, or creation, sorry. So I really like this one. I actually think there's a good point to it. If it's not Source Oni, I have to think there is some sort of counter to the Source Dragon. And it makes sense, the Oni and the Dragon, it's always been the Onis and the Dragon. So what if they are Source Oni? So thank you, my friend. But those were the theories for today, and let me know what you think of them. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? Thank you to the 5 people who did comment them. And like I said, if you want to comment your theory, please do it under this video, and I will take a look at it for the next video. But like I said, let me know which ones you do agree with, which ones you disagree with. I definitely think this episode had a lot of stuff that I agree with. I think there's some amazing theories in here, so I would definitely like to hear what you guys think of them. But yeah, that is about it for today, you guys. Thank you for watching. Take care. Okay, bye!